So this is something that had been in news for quite some time. So this should come off as a really easy question for people who had been following some amount of current affairs. So and I know that this is a question that in fact required understanding of the background of all these issues that is being dealt here. But we'll try to solve in our own way of doing it, which we have been trying out so far. We'll take out from the terms given out in the question, and we'll see what kind of a pattern or picture we can create out of it. Okay, so let's jump in. So the question is, what is the purpose of the intercreditor agreement signed by Indian banks and financial institutions? So the idea is there is something known as the intercreditor agreement. So this is the idea we are looking at. So there is an intercreditor agreement. We want to find out the purpose of this. So it was signed between banks and financial institutions. So again, this is a question pertaining to the banking system. So we don't know any details of it, okay? And I don't want to bring much details of the actual scenario also here, because that's not the idea here. So intercreditor agreement, let us try to deconstruct or dissect what this term would mean. Intercreditor agreement. So what is creditor in banking parlance? Creditor means those people who would give out credit, right? Who are giving out loans, which in the banking system means the banks. Banks are the banks, microfinance banks. These are all the kind of systems which would give out credit or loans. So creditors here means banks. Okay, intercreditor agreement, which means agreement between different banks in the context of crediting or lending out. That is the idea. That is why we call them as intercreditor agreement rather than interbank agreement, right? So we are the kind of process we are focusing here is the activity of credit or giving out loans. So intercreditor agreement means an agreement between banks with respect to giving out loans. Okay, I think that is a fairly easy logic we can deduce from that term. So what is the purpose of this intercreditor agreement? Let us look at each statement and let us see whether this idea of ICA we reached right now would kind of correlate with the statements given here. First of all, to lessen the government of India's perennial burden of fiscal deficit and current account deficit. Okay, let us take the context of fiscal deficit and current account deficit. Okay, assuming you don't know much detail about the definition of these terms, you at least know that these are government's debt obligations, right? Having more deficit means they have spent more than the revenue they earn. That is a basic sense we know about it. So fiscal deficit might show, in addition to the kind of the kind of deficit they are facing, in addition to that they will also show the kind of money they have to take as loans. That is about fiscal deficit. Current account deficit comes in terms of the foreign exchange rate. So let us just assume that deficit means government spends more than the money they are getting. Okay, so do you think that in order to solve the issue of government's deficit, banks would come together and form an agreement? Okay, so this would mean that it is these banks that are giving loans to the government. That would be one thing. Or maybe why do the banks want to come together to regulate that activity, right? So the idea of banks coming together and entering into an agreement among themselves would be to regulate their process of lending at least, right? So why would the banks be that concerned with the government's deficits? Okay, governments we know that they are sovereign entities. They have really immense power, so their word means something. So giving money out to governments are the safest things banks can do. So and this is part of a bank's normal business policy. They would take out government bonds and all that, which is a kind of debt instrument, which is a kind of way in which banks give out to governments. But none of these require a particular type of new agreement, which they are saying it is something that came out about recently. It was not there in the past. And we also know that banks have been lending to governments in the past, and how this new situation. Okay, so another angle I want to give to our idea of intercreditor agreement is that they're trying to they're trying to resolve something, or they're trying to deal with a new scenario. That is why it came out recently, right? So we know that this banking system in India had been operating for more than past 60 to 70 years, and after liberalization for the past 30 years. Now they have some new opportunity or some new crisis which require all of them to come together into an agreement, right? That would be the broad context of the signing of something like intercreditor agreement. Okay, that is also something we have to keep somewhere in the back of our mind. Okay, so the first statement doesn't make much sense because there is nothing so new in that process which require banks to come together and come into an agreement. I don't see any reason why this should be related to that. Okay. So the next thing is to support the infrastructure projects of central and state governments. Again, for doing things like that. Okay, governments wants to raise money to do their infrastructural activities. They give out bonds. We have things like infrastructure debt funds, infrastructure that fund, this fund. There are so many other mechanisms already in place. And those are all proven mechanisms, both nationally and internationally. Why do you want, again, banks to come together just to give infrastructure loans to governments? Okay, I think just for the reasons I mentioned for statement 1, the statement 2 also doesn't hold much sense, because pertaining to governments, this is not a new issue that the banks are dealing with. But the statement C and D would have to be looked at much more closely. It would have to be interpreted in a much deeper manner, which we are going to do now. So the statement C says that to act as an independent regulator in case of application for loans of 50 crore or more. So, and the fourth statement, let me deal both these together. To aim at faster resolution of stressed assets of rupees 50 crore or more, which are under consortium lending. Consortium lending means a group of creditors coming together and giving out lending to a particular entity. It could be an infrastructure project, it could be a township, it could be some huge project which requires so much of money which a single bank doesn't want to take the risk in it. So they come together and they give out lend. That is why it is known as a consortium lending. So statements C and D, what does it throw light on? Do you see this statement C and D reflective of something that had been happening in the banking scenario, in the Indian banking scenario especially? Yeah. It was the issue of non-performing assets, right? All of us know about it. We know that, at least the rumor says that Raghuram Rajan, the most favorite of our, the economists from India, he had to move out, or he was shown the way out just because of dealing with NPA crisis. So NPA crisis has been in the Indian banking sector for quite some time. I think maybe from 2013, 2014, that was the time when it started hitting headlines. So recently could very well sync with the statement C and D. I think it's fairly reasonable to conclude at this point that your answer lies in either C or D. So it's up to you to bring some deft logic to choose between one or the other. So I think NBA crisis, or the issue of huge bank loans being not being repaid, the issue of Vijay Mallya, issue of Mehul Choksi, all these people kind of the impunity with which they dealt with the banking system, the politicians involved. So these are all things which had been quite seriously discussed. So I think the intercreditor agreement, the idea of this thing coming out recently, and the NBA crisis, all this makes for a particular, I think all of them go together. Okay. So to act as let us take statement C, to act as an independent regulator in case of application for loans of 50 crore or more, which means that, okay, any bank, when it is supposed to give out a loan of 50 crore or more, they have to maybe give this to this group of intercreditor regulatory setup, right? So do you see any issue with that? I think I see some issues with it. So it's creating an unnecessary hierarchy above the existing banking system, which, like all hierarchies or like all bureaucracies, it's going to delay the entire process. Okay, that is one thing. More than the delay, don't you think, okay, see, well, maybe I am assuming too much. See, here the reason why they would set up an independent regulator to oversee the bank's lending activity would be that they don't believe in the bank's ability to make proper lending or credit decisions, right? That is a basic idea behind it. But do you think that creating another hierarchy above the existing banks is an answer to that? Don't you think that each and every bank should have an internal mechanism so that they can come up with proper credit decisions? They should be able to assess the credit worthiness of an applicant, his or her ability to repay their past data and all that. See, even we have all of our CIBIL rating, right? We can't get loans that easily if you are not if you default on our loan payments, right? So that same thing can be dealt at the banking level itself, right? I think it is a capacity which individual banks should have rather than it should be imposed from outside, because it is in the interest of every individual banks to have that capacity, right? So looking in that way, bringing an independent regulator over the existing banks is unnecessarily bringing a delay into the process, bureaucratizing the entire process, and we are trying to shy away from solving the actual problem of building credit worthiness assessment capacities or competencies within the banks. Okay, so C doesn't sound that compelling in terms of a new reform. Okay, that is not a reform you will do. If you want to do a reform, you would improve the capacity or competencies of banks, the way in which they arrive at the decisions, right? So let us look at the fourth statement, or D. To aim at faster resolution of stressed assets of rupees 50 or crore more which are under consortium lending. So how does that sound with the kind of ideas we spoke out so far? I think this is that statement that would fit in really well into the concepts we brought out until now, right? Because so the question of resolution of stressed assets, that is a big issue. That is the most what do you call, maybe the biggest scandal of our banking system, or the biggest controversy, or the biggest news. Any of the name you want to give it, it would be the issue of non-payment, NPA, non-performing assets, and the question of its resolution. So RBI had been coming up with many mechanisms to resolve this problem. So why do you think you want that? See, you should be in a position to defend your logic, right? So why do you think there has to be a mechanism like inter-creditor agreement, that is banks coming together to resolve stressed assets in a quicker manner? See, they're not trying to resolve all stressed assets, right? They're trying to resolve stressed assets of greater than 50 crore that was given out through a consortium lending process, because there was more than one bank involved in the lending process. Because then if you want to resolve this issue of stressed assets, you want all that lenders to come back together, right? They have to be brought back again to that decision making table. Then only you can resolve all these stressed assets. I think this is the idea that go perfectly well with intercreditor agreement. So even if you don't know much about the underlying issue, or maybe about what you call there was a committee on improving governance of public sector banks. I think it was PJ Nayak committee. Their recommendations was there. Based on that, there was something known as Project Shashakt that was brought into financially recapitalize Indian banking system to kind of lift them out of the quagmire they find themselves in. So I think now that makes perfect sense. So the answer to third question would be D. Okay.